into pucking where I puck around and find out. And also, Wayne County Audit, Disabled Vet Source. However you know me, welcome. Good to see you again. Today we're going to be talking about the city of Wayne, of course, because why do I talk about the city of Wayne so much? Well, it's very simple. This is where I live. This is where I've chosen, for better or for worse, to call home. And this is all that I know, and this is all that I'll ever know as far as this is the only property I've ever owned in the city, or in the state of Michigan, rather. So, you know, it's my family's home. It's where my kids live and my wife lives. And we have the biggest lot in the city of Wayne. Hey, how you doing? Good to hear from you, officer. So, you know, we have a very unique property in the city of Wayne, 2.78 acres, almost 2.8, just under 3 acres. And it's in a protected wetland. The majority of it's a protected wetland. And we have a giant pond we're putting in, and a stormwater retention pond, an aquatherapy pond, a wildlife improvement pond. You know, it's so many different things. You know, we have this it's been a blessing really from day one, you know, to own this property. It certainly had its challenges, right? From the city of Wayne, they've given me quite a lot of challenges since I've owned this property. This property is infamous at this point. And so I figured, well, we're going to make it over the top, right? We're going to make it as best as we can, and, you know, in my vision. And so far, everybody seems to really like my vision. It's certainly, none of my neighbors have ever told me, and I talk to everybody. I don't know, it might surprise some of you, right? But I like to talk to people, and I talk to people all the time, and all my neighbors have said flat out, we love what you're doing to your property. We think that looks awesome. It's unique. It's never been done before. It's totally out of character for the city of Wayne. The city of Wayne's kind of dumpy on the east side, and you know, we live here on the northwest side, and it's pretty decent. And but even in a good neighborhood, it's still unique. It's just very unique, and a lot of people don't know this. The city of Wayne has some unique properties. I know I shit on Wayne a lot, but trust me, there's a method to the madness, and it'll all make sense later. But Wayne's not a bad place, but it's not a place, you know, the average property value is $164,000 a year. Very small lots, very small houses, and that's the majority of Wayne, right? And so I have a very unique property, and I live in a very unique part of Wayne. I live in the best neighborhood in Wayne. The most unique neighborhood, has the most unique houses, and it's just kind of different, right, for the area. But regardless of that, this isn't a dick measuring contest or anything, but I want to completely illustrate, for the record, what I've had to experience since I've lived in Wayne. And I've experienced a lot of traumatic stuff, a lot of retaliatory, malicious, and vindictive, they say prosecution, but I say persecution, is a more accurate way to describe it, because that's what it's been. And I was trying to summarize, well, what's the theme behind this case and cases now, and this property and the city of Wayne. How would I best describe the city of Wayne? And the law that keeps on coming up time and time again, like there's so many different violations that they committed: 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 14th, but especially 1st, 4th, and 14th. But I mean, at this point, the 6th and the 8th and the 5th, you know, that's another half of it, right? But nothing exemplifies the city of Wayne more than, in my opinion, the void for vagueness doctrine. Because the void for vagueness doctrine was enacted for a very simple reason. It's a very simple law. It's only one paragraph. It's not even a paragraph, it's a couple of sentences, right? There's 2 key points. People of ordinary intelligence must be able to understand unanimously what the law means, what conduct is acceptable and what conduct is not acceptable. And it must not be ambiguous, capricious, or arbitrary, right? It can't invite arbitrary enforcement, capricious enforcement. It can't be so ambiguous that it can mean literally anything, right? That's what the void for vagueness doctrine was enacted to prevent, was arbitrary, capricious, ambiguous enforcement. And the supremacy clause of the United States, of the bill, the supremacy clause is the law of the land. And the void for vagueness doctrine, by extension, is the law of the land. And the U.S. Constitution, of course, is the law of the land. And then whatever state you live in, the Michigan, like I live in Michigan, so the Michigan Constitution is the law of the land. And the state constitutions can't supersede the federal constitution, right? So that's the supremacy clause in a nutshell. The federal government has ultimate authority. The United States Constitution, rather, has ultimate authority. And the state government can enhance or add to, it can afford you more protections than the United States Constitution does. But it's not, it can never supersede or contradict the United States Constitution. That's the rule. And so, by extension, the local ordinance codes cannot step on the toes of the federal government, the United States Constitution, or the state constitution, right? And so, the city of Wayne, this is really why I am the way I am, right? I exist because they exist. And what do I mean by that? Well, I analyzed and read the whole city charter, virtually. I mean, there's parts of it that I have to reread. I skimmed through some of it, but a good percentage of, a lot of chapters I read verbatim, over, sometimes multiple times. And what stood out to me the most about the City of Wayne Code or City Charter was how many laws there were. I mean, not every law is void for vagueness, although I think the majority of the laws or the ordinances that are in the city code are void for vagueness, or at least proportions of them, right? So the whole thing might not be void for vagueness, but a good percentage is. And so I just am appalled, really, by the sheer number of void for vagueness ordinances that are in the City of Wayne City Charter, City Code. And I just cannot, in good faith, I took my oath to the United States Constitution very seriously. When I joined the military, and when I later went to Georgia Military College and the Michigan Defense Force. Let me just put it this way, guys. I've been raised by a lot of men with a lot of integrity. Men that have been prisoners of war, that have been persecuted, that have grown up. I mean, I've had a very messed up life. But these people have had it worse than I have. And they were raised by people that had it worse than they had, and so it's just a different level of perspective. And I'm a brutally honest person. And that's gotten me in some trouble in my life. As far as not legal trouble, that is, up until, like I said, I moved to the City of Wayne, and then a year later, after they couldn't get me to shut up, right? They couldn't get me to stop posting videos on Facebook. Oh, I was impersonating the mayor because because I called myself Mayor Vince. That was my Facebook profile URL. And people, I guess they didn't like the fact that people were thinking I was the mayor of Wayne, right? even though it's an honorary title, right? It's like Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. There's no such thing as America's mayor. And, you know, it's like, you know, clearly I wasn't insinuating. I made it very clear that I'm running for mayor of Wayne, Michigan, that I'm the only other option, right, for mayor of Wayne, Michigan. So indefinitely running for mayor of Wayne, Michigan, because why not? And then, of course, you know, either at least one member of my family is going to be running for city council indefinitely, but hopefully some friends and family will join in too, and we'll get multiple council people running. And I know my family and myself, we're not taking a salary, so we'll give it to, you know, we'll donate it, we'll figure something out with it, but we don't need a salary. And so for people that don't need a salary, donating 20 grand or, you know, whatever the salary is amongst the 4 people. I think it's checkmate. I think it's time for checkmate. You know, the thing is like the city of Wayne took a lot from me, guys. They took some of my pawns. They took my bishops. They took my rooks. But they didn't take the knights, and they certainly didn't take the king or the queen. So, unfortunately for them, they didn't do that. They tried to, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't sway us. And void for vagueness, right? Like, that's the city of Wayne in a nutshell. They just simply have never been trained on that concept. They don't understand that concept, and their city and their personnel, not everyone, but the higher ranking ones in the city, they abuse the legal process against people. In my case, I mean, it's undeniable proof. And, you know, like I said, William Mays is their buddy, so William Mays isn't going to act in my best interest. He's going to act in the best interest of his buddies, the city, the people that he has to interact with on a day-to-day basis, right? And Mr. telling people that you're indigent, right, you don't have money, right? Because I don't, because the city of Wayne took all of it, and William Mays took the rest of it, and Jermaine Warwick took some of it, and all these really scummy, unethical people, right? They took my money, but they didn't take all of it. And they couldn't kill me, right? Because they realized if my heart's still beating, then I'm still in the fight. And you know, they thought, well, we'll just give him a plea, right? We'll just give him a no contest plea. He can still sue us, right? But we'll give a no contest plea, right? Well, I've already served the maximum sentence, right? I already served the 93 days or the 90-day maximum, which, of course, I was already over the maximum because you got to include the good time when you were in jail, so that's 5 days for every month. So really, you only have to serve 75 days. We'll just call it 80 days. We'll round up. Well, I was at day 90-something in court, and then they're saying, oh, you got to take a plea, too. You got to take a plea, too. We want you to take a plea, too. So, interesting stuff, right? So they want you to take a plea. You've already served the sentence, right? Well, then they want you to take a plea. And then not only do they want you to take a plea, they also want you to do 18 months of probation. 18 months of probation, no First Amendment right, no journalism, no running for public office, of course. Deputy Carter, he's totally against that. Which was funny to watch. The city of Wayne, their police officer, Deputy Carter, their police chief, is the most unreasonable person ever to exist, right? I mean, think of this, right? You've already served over the maximum sentence. Not only do you got to take a plea, but you also got to wait if you want to get out before February, right? So if you don't want to be almost 3 months past the maximum sentence, the maximum time you could have served, plus we're not even including house arrest, guys, over 2 months of house arrest, right? So you've already overserved the sentence by any objective standard measure, what have you. And then you're already past day 90, and they want you to take a plea. And you're thinking, okay, no contest. to 2 of the charges out of the 5, right? So they disposed of like 10 charges, right? And now they're going to dispose of 3 more. So we're like at over a dozen charges. It seems like that they've disposed at this point, right? And I just got to plead a disorderly conduct on my own private property, which is not even statutorily possible, right? And then resisting arrest, right? If I plead to those, no contest, then I'm good to go. Besides, I got to serve another 18 months of probation. No early release either. No early release. No early release. So you're like, wow, that's not actually legal, right? That's, well, you know, as William J. Mays, I quote William J. Mays when I say this. Well, that's the argument, right? That's the argument, right? Mr. I don't believe in evidentiary hearings, William J. Mays. He doesn't believe in evidentiary hearings. He doesn't believe in, you know, talking to a superior judge in a higher level court to talk about clearly unconstitutional issues. Just, you know, cancels it 3 times without even acknowledging that you exist or consulting with you or even telling you about it for that matter. It's just mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing shit. But he's on your side though, right? Yeah, he's on your side. Wink, wink. Judge Plakus and his buddy Bosnick and Carolyn Miller, they call, you know, the judge calls them into chambers, and then all of a sudden it's like William J. Mays does a complete 180 overnight, right? Just a complete 180, instant 180, right? And then he calls me crazy on the record, says that I'm crazy, right? Yeah, I'm crazy because I'm noticing these things, right? These obvious things, right? I'm the crazy one, right? I'm wearing the tinfoil hat because every time I put a camera around the city of Wayne, they're openly violating the law. Openly violating the law. I see the plaintiff literally smoking right next to the courthouse, right? Or the bailiff, right? Smoking, literally touching the door, smoking right in front of the only exit and entrance in the whole city. And then there's the sign, and then there's the Michigan MCL statute right there. I mean, you can't make this shit up, guys. You know, so I have this ability, I guess I'm a lightning rod provocateur or something. I have this ability to expose incompetence. It's like, you know, I don't find incompetence. Incompetence finds me, right? I don't look for corruption. Corruption looks for me. So, you know, that's the God-given truth on the matter. And it's just, had I known what I was going to get myself into when I moved to this city, I would have never moved here, you know, quite frankly. But, you know, I figured with 3 acres of land and, you know, a couple good neighbors, I would be all right. And by all accounts, you know, my neighbor next door who lives in, you know, the biggest house in Wayne, the second biggest property, residential property, next to mine, he's never, we've never had an issue. He's never called the police on me. He's never called up to the city hall and the city council and this and that. And so I believe that. I mean, do I know that with 100% certainty? Do I have a fucking camera in his house? Am I following him around? No, I'm not. So you know, as far as I know, based on my interactions with him, and we've had a lot of conversations, we're on friendly terms. I don't think he's gives enough of a fuck. You know, he's an Army veteran like me. I don't think he gives enough of a fuck, to be honest with you. And then my other neighbor next door, like I said, 3 houses to my right and 2 houses to my left, or 3 houses to my left. I have no issue. I've never had any issue with these people. All these neighbors of mine. So I just don't know. I mean, for me to have any issues, basically be on an island out here, and I'm a homebody, me and my wife are, it just kind of, you gotta beg the question, right? Why at 32 years old, never been in trouble in my life, never been in any legal trouble in my life. How am I suddenly, you know, got 12 disposed charges and, you know, oh, just plea after the maximum sentence. We haven't even given you your discovery. The judge is even acknowledging, like, holy shit, guys, like, you got to give the guy his discovery, right? No, well, they're you know, they're going to make me take a plea, no contest plea, or they're going to keep me in jail until February. right? And then they're telling me, well, you can have your 7-month pregnant wife do all the work for you. And it's just like, are these people out of their fucking minds? And then William J. Mays, of course, he doesn't want me to speak on the record the truth, and he doesn't want me to talk about it. So he lies to me. I'm talking to him on Friday, saying, hey, you know, I think it might have even been Thursday. Hey, bring me down these documents that my wife dropped off at your office, right? Please bring them down. I didn't tell him to open them. I just said bring them down. Well, he takes it on his own behalf and opens my documents, opens my mail, right? Which is a federal crime, by the way. I didn't give him permission to look into those documents. He never consented with me or my wife to get permission from us. It was never implied that he had permission to open that documentation. But he did anyways. And then he read through them and said, oh no, we don't want you saying this on the record. That's bad. Bad for me, I guess, because then he doesn't get 2 jury trials. I guess the case gets, I guess either the case ends right there. Well, he made the decision for me. He never let me at least argue what I believe is the truth on the record, or the facts on the record, or the Constitution, or the case law. He's not interested in that. So, you know, pushed my hearing back 3 times, or just canceled it outright 3 times. Never got my money back. Informed me that I wasn't even supposed to pay for this appeal hearing with the Wayne Circuit Court. Never got my money back, and then canceled it 3 times without my knowledge. You know, nice representation though, Willie. Yeah, keep on keeping on with your bullshit, right? Trying to, you know, you're just a dog shit human being at this point. I don't know what else to say about William J. Mays. And then Jermaine Warwick, he's mostly just incompetent and old as fuck, and slowing down extremely. But no, Jermaine Warwick was in on it too a little bit. He was in on it too. Same song and dance. You know, he comes out of the gate swinging a little bit, fighting for my rights, and then all of a sudden the judge calls him into chambers, and then all of a sudden, boom. You know, now even though I pointed out to him in email a half a dozen times that this ordinance, or this open burn policy, isn't even a codified ordinance, it's not even enacted, he ignored that fact and then just continued to argue that I was following the ordinance, this ordinance that doesn't exist, right? This phantom ordinance, right? It's beyond void for vagueness, right? Like, void for vagueness wouldn't even best accurately describe what the City of Wayne, or rather City of Wayne, Jeremy Schneider, their fire marshals, open burn policy, right? I mean, just incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. To sit there and read and know for certain that it's void for vagueness, right? I mean, any elementary, my fucking son is 3 years old and has a better concept of what void for vagueness means. Elementary school children better understand void for vagueness doctrine than the fucking City of Wayne, Michigan, right? And all their public attorneys, all their contracted attorneys, which there's several of them. 2 judges, Judge Brita O'Leary and Judge James Plakas, they both just, all this slipped their mind, right? Supposedly. Breaking into someone's house to enforce a law that doesn't even exist, right? Without a warrant. And then charging somebody with obstruction because they asked for a fucking warrant, right? It's wild stuff. I mean, it's completely wild stuff. And then to find probable cause for that too, on top of that, it's just mind-blowing fucking shit, really, is what it is. I mean, it just truly is like mind-blowingly. I mean, 2 judges missed it, right? Supposedly they missed it. Right. This is my response to that, right? You missed it, all right. You know. And then 2 prosecutors, 2 city attorneys, Carolyn Miller and Michael Bosnick, they both missed it. And then 2 paid lawyers, Jermaine Warwick and William J. Mays. Nobody could figure this out, you see. Nobody could figure this out. Wasn't even worth an evidentiary hearing to talk about. Wasn't even worth talking about on the record. You know, I had an evidentiary hearing with Jermaine Warwick, but everybody met in chambers without me, and it was a secret meeting, and, you know, he apparently argued that, you know, didn't care to point out the fact that, wait a minute, this isn't even an ordinance, so what are we enforcing here? So obstructing with the enforcement of something that doesn't exist, well, I'm not a law scholar or nothing, but maybe I guess I am. I mean, I'm the only one who noticed this shit, who cared to point it out. So I'm the only constitutional law scholar apparently in the whole city of Wayne. Apparently nobody else. All the city council people missed it, right? The police department missed it, missed it, right? That's what they want you to believe. No, there was no. This was this is what retaliatory prosecution is. This is what malicious and vindictive prosecution is. Selective enforcement, selective prosecution, class of one prosecution. That's what this shit is. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, there's no way that all these people could miss that. I mean, this isn't that difficult of a concept, guys. And then the fact that you've already served you've served over the maximum sentence, well over the maximum sentence. And not only do you still got to take a no contest plea, or you're going to be sent in jail until at least February. That's assuming William J. Mays doesn't push your trial dates back again, which he already did that once without consulting me. He pushed one trial date back and made it into 2 trial dates. He's like abracadabra, right? He's able to make that happen because, an evidentiary hearing wouldn't have definitely at least taken care of 3 of the charges, right? Well, it certainly would have, right? When I pointed this out to him, here was his response. I said, well, why aren't we doing an evidentiary hearing for the interference charge and for the disorderly conduct charge, right? At bare minimum, you can't be disorderly on private property that you own. And interfering with a law that doesn't exist isn't a thing. So those 2, evidentiarily speaking, are dismissed immediately. Well, Jermaine Warwick didn't want to do it, but I figured, William J. Mays, he got his undergraduate at the Citadel, right? So I figured, maybe he's got a little bit more integrity, or he's claiming it's not an integrity issue, that he was completely ethical. And even if we take him at his word on that, I'm an open-minded guy. It still doesn't change the fact that the guy is completely fucking incompetent then. I mean, there's no other explanation for this. His explanation to me was, well, we don't need to have an evidentiary hearing, guys. We don't need to have one, DeVincent, because it still doesn't take care of the assault charge, the assault and battery on a police officer charge, which that's a logical fallacy in and of itself, because there is no disadvantage to not getting charges dismissed early and often, right? Like if you can get 2 out of the 5 or 3 out of the 5 of the charges dismissed right off the rip in one evidentiary hearing, well, then now you definitely only need 1 jury trial, and most likely the prosecution's just going to give up and drop the case, right? Because once the first couple of charges, once some of the charges just get tossed away, disposed of like all the other shit, well, now it gets increasingly harder and harder, because now you have, well, damn, you've disposed of 10 charges against them. Doesn't seem like you guys have a lot of evidence or, proof beyond any reasonable doubt, any probable cause that he even committed these crimes. So you're disposing of all these bond violations, alleged bond violations. And, William J. Mays said, well, it doesn't take care of the assault and battery charge, which is really the worst argument I've ever heard, because I'm like, well, I've reviewed all the video evidence, audio, video, all the evidence 6 times now, at least half a dozen times, probably more, probably a dozen times, every piece of evidence that I could ever get my hands on. And needless to say, that assault and battery on a police officer charge, well, first of all, it was charged as a local ordinance, so that should tell you everything you need to know. You assaulted and murdered a police officer, which is a felony in the state of Michigan, or at the very least a high-level misdemeanor, which is going to get bound over to Wayne Circuit Court. Well, no, they don't want it bound over to Wayne Circuit Court. They want to keep it on the local level. Well, why do they want to keep it on the local level, guys? I'll let you guys figure it out. I have my thoughts, right? I have my thoughts. But yeah, I mean, that's just, it's inexcusable, right? The whole thing is just, it's either complete incompetence or something worse, or both. So, but incompetence for sure. Malicious incompetence, maybe, I don't know. But I don't know if it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, sounds like a duck. It might be a duck. But just mind-blowing shit. Can't even sleep. I have heart palpitations. Got a heart monitor. 32 years old. Got a heart monitor over this shit. Heart palpitations all day long, thinking about this garbage. Because it had real-world consequences, right? I had real-world consequences for me and my immigrant family, my disabled family. my disabled child, but especially me, disabled veteran, DV, DeVincent McFarland, a DV, disabled veteran. DV, the disabled veteran, can't handle, eating food product in jail, not food, but food product, and sleeping on concrete and steel with spinal stenosis and a plethora of other service-connected disabilities, sleep apnea. No sleep apnea machine given either, right? No sleep apnea, no CPAP machine, no nothing. I mean, literally torturing a disabled veteran for interfering with the enforcement of a law that doesn't exist. After you broke into his private property for the second time, and then the third time, and then the fourth time, and then kept charging him with bond violations, right? Kept charging him with bond violations. That's the city of Wayne. That's what actually occurred. So I just want you guys to know this for the record, because I don't know how much longer I'll be alive. The stress of this is literally killing me. I think it already has killed me, to be totally truthful with you guys. I'm going to try to stay strong mentally, physically. But I have to be honest, I mean, that's just genuinely how I felt, since May. But it's really, especially since July, when they threw me in that dungeon. I mean, the food, the slop, the poison they feed you, the poison they force you to drink, the water. It's instinctually, I know there's something more going on. That it's not just like, oh, the whole jail is just incompetent. No, it's by design. The incompetence, that's just the plausible deniability, guys. That's what I see clear as day. And that's what I know. I mean, with all my education, my background, I went to a school that preached character above all, duty, honor, country. And I believe that, and I live that. And that's the mantra of my family, of this property, and how I've always tried to conduct myself and live my life. And, sometimes, like I said, like the great Rush Limbaugh said, sometimes you got to act absurd to illustrate the absurdity. And I believe that. And some would say I was acting absurd, but no, I really wasn't. I was just trying to illustrate absurdity. And I did. With my case, I did, very well. Was able to illustrate the absurdity of the so-called justice system in the, Wayne County for sure, but the city of Wayne second, the state of Michigan third, and then fourthly, the United States of America. How absurd and how blatantly adversarial to the United States Constitution our modern day criminal justice system is. And I think my case exemplified that better than any case. Forcing you essentially to be pro se because, the judge is saying, well, you're not going to get appointed another lawyer. You don't have money for another lawyer. And so basically, you're forced to take this no contest plea, or you're going to sit in jail for 2 more months. And then, of course, I think the city would end up just dismissing the charges a day before the jury trial anyways, just to torture me and drag it out some more. And then I wouldn't even get my chance to, speak the truth and to cross-examine them and all that. So they just tortured me, and, physically my health was failing me, and my wife's 7 months pregnant, needs me more than ever. My son's disabled still, and, he's making progress at school, but it's slow and steady, and he needs me more than ever. And my other child that's soon to be born needs me more than ever. And my disabled mother, my mother who's severely disabled and unwell, and she needs me more than ever. And my brother and his, my nieces, and everybody needs me more than ever. And I'm of no use. I can't be of any use sitting in the Wayne County Jail. They make sure of it. You can't be of any productive use to society sitting in there, and that's what they want. They want you there sick and drinking their poison and their slop, and they've got it down to a science, how to feed you for $1 a day, and it's a money-making machine, that jail is. But it comes at a cost, right? It comes at a cost of the lifespan of the prisoners, of course. I mean, that's obviously the first thing that is going to cost. But there's no way to get any sort of constitutional remedy in that jail. There's no way to, like I said, William J. Mays made sure of it. I didn't even get a chance to go in front of a real judge and ask her a few questions on the record, and wasn't even allowed to do that. And he knew that, and he knew that's all that I wanted to do. And he didn't have time for it or didn't want to have time for it, or his argument was, well, evidentiary hearing's not going to take care of all 5 of the charges, which may or may not be true, who knows, but it would definitely have taken care of the 3, because the video evidence shows that I clearly did not spit on a police officer. I clearly did not assault and batter a police officer. My wife had it on 4K 120 frames per second, so definitely was able to see the spit in complete clarity, and the officer made no reaction to it because I didn't spit on him. And there, of course, there was 4 eyewitnesses that all saw it and recorded it. So, I mean, that charge was, the fact that he told me that's when I knew he was a disingenuous piece of shit. That's when I knew, okay, this guy, it's not just incompetence. I mean, that's not even a good logical answer. Well, it doesn't take care of, you were charged with a severe crime of assault and battery on a police officer, trying to give me all this bullshit. And I'm like, no, the evidence speaks for itself, dude. The evidence speaks for itself. I don't give a fuck what the city of Wayne writes in a police report, because they don't even know how to write police reports, and they lie. And I can prove that they lied in their own police reports, because their own police reports are void for vagueness. They contradict themselves. So it's almost like they're being trained to violate the void for vagueness doctrine and to be ambiguous and to, that's what they're trained, it appears to be to me. Everyone that interacts with the city of Wayne, they either train those people to act this way, or they scare them into acting this way, or they influence them into acting this way, or I don't know what the fuck it is, to be totally honest with you. I have some ideas, but there's still a lot of questions that are just unanswered, right? And but like I said, I think there's enough evidence there to infer that, yeah, clearly there's something not really right with the city of Wayne. Everything they touch seemed to just turn into dog shit. And I guess they met their kryptonite with DeVince McFarland, right? That's apparently it. The city of Wayne, I'm the city of Wayne's kryptonite. And me with a camera acting like a scarecrow, just my presence alone, not speaking, not talking, not communicating with anyone at all, just literally hold camera phone and just recording people in their public duties. That's their kryptonite, guys. That's their kryptonite. And that's why, they want me to give them 48 hours written notice before I can appear in their city hall, right? Giving them a broad notification that I'm going to be there from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's not enough, right? That's not enough. That doesn't satisfy the requirements of 48 hours written notice, even though it literally does. But, now they want to move the goalpost, right? Now Finley Carter, who's not even the attorney, he wants to move the goalpost, right? He wants to add more bond or probation stipulations and, make them even more vague. And, you can't. It's too late, right? It's too late. That's what they agreed to in 4 hours. That's the best that they could come up with. And then that's what they wanted. I mean, I gave them literally, and I'm going to release the transcripts, thank God, just to show you guys just exactly how fucked up the city of Wayne truly is. Like how they quote unquote negotiate with people, right? I mean, the slimiest fucking people, right? And I'll let you be. That's my opinion. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I'll let you guys decide for yourselves, because I think you guys will even notice things that I'm not even noticing. But yeah, it's wild shit, guys. It's wild shit. And I'm glad to take one for the team, but I don't, like I said, I had to get the fuck out of that jail by any means necessary, at least temporarily, just so I could get in front of an actual healthcare professional. I have to push this button every time I'm having heart palpitations. I have to push this button, right? And so I apologize if I lose my train of thought or I lose my breath. It's just, heart problems, heart palpitations, the stress. And then, my spinal stenosis is far worse than it was when I got diagnosed not that long ago. Like I said, when the city of Wayne beat my ass on July 10th, because I allegedly violated a bond condition that I don't, they said it wasn't an actual emergency. There's no statutory definition of what an actual emergency is. None at all. But did that stop them from coming out of my property, beating the ever-loving shit out of me, having handcuffs so tight that it caused permanent nerve damage in one of my hands? I thought it was both, but the right hand, it did come back for the most part. But the left hand, yeah, permanent nerve damage and a concussion, got punched in the head. My pupils were different sizes. and I was slammed on the ground. I was twisted. I was choked. Had elbows and knees and right in my throat, right in my back of my neck. Yeah, they did a number on me. It's all there. It's all on video. It's pretty graphic. Not my proudest moment. You know, I used the hard R word, man, and I'm not talking about retard, right? I used hard R, which of course, my son's biracial. My two children are biracial. My wife's obviously not Caucasian, and tenants that I've had in the past, and you know, are not Caucasian either. Let's just put it that way. And so, I'm not even Caucasian fully, but I digress. Either way, I should have been more respectful. After I got my ass beat, of course. This was all after the fact. I should have been more respectful. But being disrespectful is not a crime, and that's protected by the First Amendment, especially on your own private property. But I thought I was under arrest for disorderly conduct, which is what they charged me with, disorderly conduct on private property. I figured I was under arrest for that because they were, you know, like I said, they just conveniently, whenever they don't know the law, it's always working against it's always working against you. I've noticed that conveniently enough. So conveniently enough, that's what I thought, you know, but no, they said I called the police in bad faith, or that I called the police thinking that this was an emergency, somebody blocking your driveway, threatening your life and threatening the life of those who live with you. I thought that was worthy. I thought that was worthy of a police call. I had the description of the suspect, Christopher Corwell, and DPW worker, had the truck number. Wasn't able to record all of it, but I got some of it recorded. And where the police, did the police show up to help me, who was the victim of a crime? No, they showed up to say that I violated the bond condition. Because apparently I guess, either I wasn't allowed to record a public worker on my own private property, you know, violating my rights and assaulting me, and falsely, entrapping me, right? And false imprisonment is what it technically was. Blocking somebody's driveway and threatening them, that would, you know, they can't leave, you know, they're forced, it's false imprisonment. But yeah, it's fucked up shit, man. And it really, I paid a price for it. I paid a price for asserting my constitutional rights and trying to redress my grievances with public officials, and trying to operate cordially and in good faith, right? Like, nope, that's not how they roll. They just break into your house, beat the shit out of you, charge you with crimes, assault you. Well, they break into your house and charge you with obstruction. Then they come back and assault you. Then they come back again, charge you with more bond violations right after the 4th of July, right? Ruining your whole, you know, and what's sick about these people too, right, is they know that veteran suicide is highest around the holidays, and around, you know, your birthday and significant other's birthday, but holidays, right? And they know that, and you know, they did this Memorial Day weekend, or right before or after Memorial Day weekend. They did it right after the 4th of July. They did it on my wife's birthday. They did it on my birthday. The city of Wayne, yeah, you know, it's pretty sick stuff. It's cruel and unusual punishment is what it is, to put someone on probation and make them serve probation 18 months, right, for a crime that couldn't even have possibly happened in the first place, which means that by extension, then the bond condition is unconstitutional, because it's the fruit of the poisonous tree. You know, it couldn't get more. Well, that's another term for the city of Wayne, fruit of the poisonous tree. They don't understand that concept either. They don't understand the void for vagueness doctrine. And that's a common theme you'll see time and time again. Vague bond conditions, arbitrary and overbreadth bond conditions, all-encompassing bond conditions, could mean anything bond conditions, ambiguous probation terms, ambiguous language. I mean, they're masters of this shit, right? They think they are. They think they're so smart. They think the city of Wayne thinks they're geniuses. They sit there and they probably measure their dick 12 times a day. Every time they eat a cheeseburger, they go and measure their dick, because they're like, oh my God, is it getting shorter? Did it shrink from all the bullshit I've been eating? Well, It does, right? This is a little scientific fact for you. I have a bachelor's in healthcare management. I went through nursing school in the United States Army. I know a thing or two about the human anatomy, and the human anatomy is interesting stuff. But yeah, if you eat too much, I think it's for every 10 pounds of fat you gain, you lose an inch on your Johnson. So just word to the wise, you know. So that would mean that people that are 300 or 400 pounds or 500 pounds, like in Kevin Dowd's case, probably can't even see their penis. Probably can't even see them at all. That's a scary sight. I saw a couple when I was in the army. Couple micro penises just submerged around fat rolls, you know, like you're talking like 30-40 pounds of fat some of these people have, right? And that's what you can see. I mean, imagine underneath the clothes. I don't want to imagine, but boy, it's already in my head. So, but yeah, it's 40-50 pounds of fat rolls, 60 pounds of fat rolls. Yeah, you couldn't have a penis at that point, or a pair of testicles for that matter. I mean, that's like literally, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but I've seen it in the Army, and morbid obesity around the pelvis is a fucking scary sight on both a male and a female. But wow. But yeah, that's essentially kind of, I feel like that's a what would I call it? A metaphor for how the city of Wayne kind of conducts themselves, right? They kind of like submerge people into these fat rolls, right? They submerge people into their void for vagueness and their what's the other word that I'm looking for? Void for vagueness and their fruit of the poisonous tree behavior, right? Because they clearly don't know what those two concepts mean, right? And they actively, repugnantly, you know, work against them, right? They, you know, seemingly, from what I know, from what I can see, they seemingly are repugnant to those concepts, completely repugnant. And they almost seem to act in a way that is a mockery of the void for vagueness doctrine and the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. So, but I gotta get going, guys. Mauricio, he's getting hungry. Let's go, buddy. Let's go get some food. Let's go get some food. No pancakes. Let's go get some food. Let's go to IHOP. Go to IHOP, get some pancakes, buddy. But yeah, I mean, of course, this is all just my opinion, right? I have a associate's degree in paralegal studies. I have a paralegal studies, and I have an associate's degree in logistics and general studies from Georgia Military College. And I have a bachelor's degree from Georgia Military College, healthcare management. And then my master's degree is in organizational industrial psychology. So that is, from my perspective, my non-professional opinion, that's, you know, that's how I see it. That's about how I see it. Sorry if I went on any sort of tangents. Please disregard anything that I may have said that was offensive. I do apologize if I offended anybody. Sometimes in order to think out loud and to engage in thought-provoking conversation and thought, right? Just thought-provoking ideas, right? To engage with those, to, you know, that's how we all get better, right? We get better by being exposed to different perspectives and thinking out loud and kind of, you know, engaging in civil debate, right? Civil discourse, and when appropriately, redressing our grievances and making our voices heard. And, you know, it's not illegal to curse, right? I know the city of Wayne would love to make it illegal to curse because, you know, they broke into my house to enforce a law that doesn't exist on July 5th, and then they charged me with harassing communications, harassment. I was harassing them because I told them to suck my dick and balls, right? Because apparently I'm not allowed to say suck my dick and balls on my own private property to somebody who's literally woefully violating my 4th and 14th Amendment rights. And my 5th Amendment rights, really. Yeah, breaking into my property without a warrant, without probable cause, without legal justification to enforce a law that does not even fucking exist. And then charging me, guys, with harassment, sexual harassment or something along those lines. I think that's what they tried to do. Or they were insinuating that I was sexually harassing them because I was using the word dick and balls and calling them a pussy and a faggot and whatever else I wanted to call them that day. Right? and I was, all right, buddy. All right, you can't open the door though. I gotta lock the door. Yeah, I know. Mommy's at her CPL class right now, buddy. Mommy's got to get her CPL because Mommy's scared for her life in the city which she lives in because the city of Wayne is terrorizing our family, and you know they've been doing it for months. Domestic terrorism is what the fuck this shit is. Is what it is. City-sanctioned terrorism, city-sponsored terrorism is what it is. Of a protected individual, a disabled veteran, and a disabled child, and a disabled immigrant wife, because my wife's 7 months pregnant. That's a disability in and of itself. You know, and then causing what do they call them? Adverse childhood experiences on an unborn child and on a 3-year-old disabled child. That's what the city of Wayne is doing. That's what they've been doing. That's what the city of Wayne's been doing this whole time since definitely of May 9th for sure. You know, it's what started out as incompetence turned into a city-sanctioned terrorism, a city-sanctioned, what would I call it? A complete and total destruction of the sanctity of a person's life, property, and liberty. That's what the city of Wade has engaged in. You know, I'm thinking out loud. I like to think out loud. I like to be able to refer to these videos for future reference, because I had a traumatic brain injury in the Army, and my memory is spotty at times. You know, and I've smoked a lot of high-grade premium City of Wayne approved, Eric Clearyman approved, used to be known as Joyology, but now known as Smiles marijuana. Some very high potent marijuana from Smiles over the years. Well, over the last 2 years. And then, you know, I used to smoke a lot of high potent marijuana from Arcana. I worked at Cookies, the dispensary in Kalamazoo, for a while. So yeah, you know, I'm a forgetful person at times. So I like to refer to these videos for future reference. And I like to inform you guys, and I like to state things for the record that are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It takes a lot of courage to speak the truth to power, to expose yourself in this format, live and without filters and without editing, without none of that. You know, this is just raw, off the cuff. You know, this is a reality of my life, right? You know, this is the time that I was able to get a little bit of time to myself today, right? But yeah, that's what this whole thing has been, guys. And I'm sure you guys have some questions, and if I haven't answered your questions, please write them down. Please ask me. Please send me an email. Please send me a message. Please come pay me a visit if you're so inclined. And I'm always here to chat. I'll always have a chat with someone, whether I agree with you 100% or disagree with you 100%. If you come in good faith to discuss differences, you want to redress your grievances with me, or I want to redress them with you, I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. That's what the First Amendment's for. The First Amendment's merely just a blueprint of how the government's supposed to conduct theirselves, right? That's what the First and Fourth and Fifth and Sixth and Eighth and 14th Amendments, that's what those are for. Those are our most important amendments too. I mean, they're all important, but those are the supreme amendments. And then of course the void for vagueness doctrine and the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. And ultra vares and void ab initio. Those are another two legal concepts that also describe the city of Wayne in great detail. Void ab initio, void from the beginning. and ultra vires outside of their jurisdiction. Acting outside of your jurisdiction. That's what the city of Wayne has engaged in. I mean, abundantly obvious, right? There's no court, especially a local district court, a local court, definitely a state court can't even do this. They can't put you on probation past your maximum sentence. And they took advantage of the fact, I guess, that I didn't know that at the time, or they chose to pretend that they didn't know that. But I don't know. Like I said, I knew William J. Mays wasn't going to do shit. My wife knew that. Everyone in my household knew that. That he was clearly just trying to get 10 or 12 grand out of it, or more. Or he wanted 14 grand. That's what he wanted. He wanted, I think it was 2 or 3 grand for one motion, is what he wanted. Which, of course, you know, I mean, at this point, it's just like, I'll just file the motion myself. I'll give you what I think is about right, and then you can take that and add to it. But I want to at least include that in the original motion. I didn't even say that as terms. He never gave me terms. He never communicated with me once, which was just strange. He never communicated with me outside of him telling me that I was remanded, right? He called me and said, hey, you're getting remanded, right? I don't have any answers to it. I don't know what to do. And I was like, wow, you don't have any answers, don't know what to do, huh? I can think of a dozen things to do, but you don't have an answer or a clue. I don't know, maybe the fact that we shouldn't even be having a jury. Well, we should have a jury trial because the truth needs to be out there and it needs to be explored of like, hey, what is the city of Wayne actually up to here? Because this just trying to make sense of how someone can sit in jail past the maximum sentence and then be put on probation for 18 months for violating a law that doesn't even exist. For obstructing the enforcement of a law that doesn't exist. Let me get more specific, right? Let me get more specific. Yeah, it's brain aneurysm causing shit is what it is. It's stroke inducing thoughts, right? A thought that is so absurd, legally speaking, it's such an absurd concept to be in violation of a law that doesn't exist, right? That's crazy fucking talk. That's crazy talk. That's like literally, that's being charged with witchcraft, essentially. That's essentially what I was charged with, was witchcraft. I was charged with violating something that doesn't even exist on paper, that you can't even quantify. But then also being accused of obstructing with the enforcement of a law that doesn't exist, right? So try to wrap your brain around that for a second and try to understand it. And then to be set in jail for 90 some days on house arrest for damn near, it seemed like 3 months, definitely 2 months, 2.5, 3 months, and just subjected to the most torturous, not for public safety whatsoever. I'm clearly no danger to anyone in the public. Physical danger. Oh, his mouth is dangerous because, you know, he calls people cunts, and, you know, he says the word cunt, and oh my God, how dare that peasant who served his country when none of us didn't. How dare him? How dare him? How dare him think he has the right to say what he wants? How dare him? We got to teach him a lesson. He thinks he's going to move into our city and disrespect us and call us bitches and faggots and cucks and cunts and whatever he wants live on TV. Well, yeah, absolutely, I think I can, and I absolutely will continue. So, yeah, fuck you, City of Wayne. And when I say fuck you, City of Wayne, I'm talking about the entire city council, their contracted city attorneys, their judge, Brita O'Leary. Talking about all these. They want to make the money as a public official, and they want the power, but they don't want the accountability that comes with it. Accountability means you're going to have to answer some tough questions. Without a teleprompter, without a lawyer sitting in front of you, you're just going to have to answer some basic fucking questions, human to human. Live on the record, on the cusp. And you're not going to be able to narrate the fucking story like you want to, because that's the only time you sometimes, right? You're not even good at that because because what you're defending and what you're doing is so inexcusable that you struggle. The city of Wayne struggles to even, if they don't have home field advantage, right? As soon as they go into circuit court, man, they just get pulverized. They get fucking absolutely pulverized. When they don't have home field advantage, they don't stand a chance. They don't stand a fucking chance. Because what they're doing is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. It serves no lawful purpose whatsoever, right? Bonds and bail, you know what those are for? They're to ensure appearance, first and foremost, to ensure that you're going to show up to court. Well, I have an undefeated record. I'm better than Floyd Mayweather at showing up to court. I have a beyond perfect record. I've shown up to every court appearance, every single time, without exception, right? So clearly I have a record of appearing in court. So I'm clearly not a flight risk. So then what would the bond and the bail be for then? Well, dangerousness to the community. Dangerousness to the community. Which, who's the community here? The city can't be the community. The city's not the public. So who's the community? Well, conveniently enough, I've never been charged with a crime against a member of the public. Not once. Never in my life have I been charged with a crime on a member of the public. So you're like, huh, okay, so no record of that. So then what's the bond and bail for? Well, dangerousness to the community. Okay, well, if he's never been accused of a crime against anyone in the community, well then, dangerousness to who then? Well, he's dangerous to the city of Wayne because he goes into the city of Wayne unannounced and he puts a camera in front of our faces and from an area that's a public easement. And he stands there like a scarecrow and he just records us and watches us randomly for a few minutes, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and then he leaves. And then he gets the video footage and posts it on the internet. And then people get mad because they see us wasting their tax dollars, right? And so that's about right. That's about right. I think so. So that's how I see it. That's exactly how I see it. And I'm going to continue to speak how I see it. And I'm going to continue to go down there Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, and I'm going to record them. Like, I'm going to be a scarecrow, of course. I'm not going to engage whatsoever with anyone. If somebody wants to engage with me, we can go engage in a private area or something, or we can go, but everything would have to be on the record, right? Anytime you're dealing with the city of Wayne, I want to make sure I record them because they're fucking morons, because they're pieces of shit, most of them, like I said. The lower ranking file workers, the general public in Wayne, the taxpayers of Wayne, the general people that live in Wayne, good people. But the government, as far as like the city council and, the chief of police and the judge and the city attorneys, they're all piece of shit human beings. The most vile of piece of shit human beings, right? Officer Gombrowski, who murdered John Zook Jr., vile piece of shit, not viable. Vile piece of shit. Deputy Finley Carter III, vile piece of shit. Judge Brito O'Leary, vile piece of shit. Carolyn Miller, city attorney, vile piece of shit. Michael Bosnick, Big Mike, he's ironically, he's the most reasonable of them, but he is still completely, he's defending evil, he's in a lose-lose situation here. Right? He could quit his job and go get a real job, but, he might not be able to get a real job. I don't think Michael Bosnick is a particularly good attorney. I don't think he's particularly effective. I ain't going to call him a vile piece of shit because I don't think he's quite as vindictive or malicious or selective or retaliatory as Carolyn Miller is, but he's still, he wrote this Void for Vagueness 2025-02 City of Wayne Open Burn Ordinance, the one that they're trying to enact into law, which, again, it's void for vagueness for, I'm going to say at least a half a dozen reasons off the top of my head, but I'd say more like a dozen, right? But either way, guys, me and my son are at our favorite restaurant, Dairy Queen in Westland, off the corner of Ford Road in best business in the city of Westland, in my opinion. Best customer service, as far as a restaurant's concerned. Just love Dairy Queen. Love Dairy Queen. And also, by the way, I want to make this announcement. We're going to be giving out Dairy Queen cakes. We're going to do it once a month to start out, and then we might do it twice a month. My goal is to do it every week, every Tuesday. We pass out Dairy Queen ice cream cakes to different groups. We'll try to switch it up. Different groups of people, different people in Wayne, Westland area. But I still technically live in Wayne. I'm on the border of Westland. I feel like I, realistically live more in Westland. I do more of my business in Westland. I stay the fuck out of Wayne. Nothing good comes out of Wayne. Nothing good comes out of hanging in Wayne, right? You can't even exist in your backyard and have a bonfire with your family, roast some marshmallows, and get lied about, vilified, and get accused of burning treated lumber and this and that. You can't even see in the backyard from any public easement whatsoever, because there's this thing called a ravine in the way. And somebody who lives in the opposite direction of how the wind blows is complaining from 4 lots down that you're violating something. You're doing something, right? Doing something they don't like. So it's very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting telling stuff. But this void for vagueness ordinance, as it's currently written, is not enforceable, and or this open burn ordinance, this 2025-02. The way it's currently written, it's void for vagueness, because clean wood is wood, right? It literally is in the name. So clean wood equals wood, and wood equals timber or trees. So therefore, if wood, timber, and trees you cannot burn, well then by extension you cannot burn clean wood either. So clean wood, right? Because they come up with these definitions that don't exist anywhere else in the world, and they really don't even make any fucking sense, right? And it's like they're trying to sound smart, they're trying to sound sophisticated, but they're just really. Michael Bosnick, apparently, who wrote this, and Jeremy Snyder, apparently are the authors of it. They're just not that fucking smart. I don't know what other logical conclusion you could make. I mean, they're just clearly not that fucking smart. And then apparently nobody on the city council is smart either, or knows what void for vagueness or fruit of the poisonous tree is, or the 4th Amendment for that matter, the 4th and 14th Amendment, right? Which is why Ordinance 2025 and -02 is, unenforceable. It's unconstitutional. Just by a cursory glance, I'm a junior college fucking educated guy with a TBI, and clear as fucking day, I can see just on a one pass, reading it once, passing through it once, I can find void for vagueness and fruit of the poisonous tree and 4th and 14th Amendment violations. Arbitrary enforcement, overbreadth, right? Yeah. But anyways, guys, I gotta go. I digress. I hope this video has been informative. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you for the interactions. Hope to talk to you guys next time.